Good morning, everybody. My name is Dan Scripps, Chair of the Michigan Public Service Commission. I call this meeting of the Commission to order on June 9, 2023 at 10:34 a.m. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chair Scripps.
Present.
Commissioner Peretick.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Today's meeting is being held in person at the Commission's office at 7109 West Saginaw Highway in Lansing, Michigan. We're also hosting this meeting remotely, as always, using Microsoft Teams. It is compatible with all browsers except Safari. Telephone relay service is available through the phone option. If you are participating via Microsoft Teams, you may also turn on the live captions by clicking on the More button at the top right of your Teams window, then clicking on Language and Speech from the drop-down menu, and finally clicking on Turn on Live Captions. As indicated in the notice for today's meeting, if we lose the remote connection, the Commission will not recess. We'll continue here in person. The meeting will be recorded and available for future reference on the Commission's website. In addition, the Commissioners can receive comments via mpsc_commissioners@michigan.gov. For reference, this email is also included in today's meeting notice. We will have an opportunity for the public to make comments as provided in the agenda. A few notes about this. We need to keep comments brief and one per person. If you would like to make verbal comments, you must do so in person or remotely through Microsoft Teams or call into the meeting by phone. For individuals attending in person and who want to make a verbal comment, please fill out a comment card. Comment cards, and we've already got a couple of them, are available at the front table near the podium, right where that gentleman is. For individuals participating remotely by Microsoft Teams and who want to make a verbal comment, you may click on the raise hand button at any time to be queued up for comment. For individuals participating remotely by phone and who want to make a verbal comment, you may press *5 at any time to be queued up for comment. Public commenters on both Microsoft Teams and on the phone are added to the same speaker queue and will be called upon in the order they enter the speaker queue. Please do not lower your hand or press *5 again, or you'll be removed from the queue and lose your place in line. And to minimize disruptions, attendees participating by Microsoft Teams or by phone will be muted until we reach the time for public comment. I know that we've got a number of folks who are interested in making comment. We've got a couple of comment cards up here. We've got at least one hand raised online. We do have to end this meeting at 11:30. I have to testify before the legislature this morning at noon, and so we'll have to wrap up promptly, but we're going to get to as many comments as we possibly can during that time. The first order of business is approval of the agenda for today's meeting. Commissioner Parrish?
I move for the approval of the agenda for today's Commission meeting.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve today's agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The agenda is approved. The next item of business on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the May 18, 2023 Commission meeting.
I move for the approval of the minutes from the May 18th, 2023 Commission meeting.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the minutes from the May 18, 2023 Commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The Commission meeting minutes of May 18, 2023 are approved. The next item of business on the agenda is the approval of orders and minute actions on the consent agenda, and today the Commission is assisted by Staff Attorney Lisa Gold, and I recognize Ms. Gold.
Good morning. Today's consent agenda consists of 8 communications matters, 2 electric matters, and 2 gas matters. The proposed orders and minute actions for these matters have been thoroughly vetted by the Commission's technical and legal staff and are ready for your approval.
I move for the approval of the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The orders and minute actions on the consent agenda are approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4A1 is case number U-15361, which involves an application from Indiana Michigan Power Company for ex parte approval of a second amendment to the Fowler Ridge Wind Renewable Energy Purchase Agreement that discounts the contract rates due to technology upgrades. The order before you approves the application.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-15361.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-15361 is approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4A2 is case numbers U-15787 et al., which involve dockets opened on the Commission's own motion to promulgate rules governing interconnection, net metering, and distributed generation. The order before you addresses a notice from Indiana Michigan Power Company regarding the company reaching the size limitation set out in MCL 460.1173 for its distributed generation level 1 customers, directs electric providers and alternative electric suppliers to file future annual interconnection and net metering or distributed generation reports in case number U-20890, and closes the docket in case number U-15787.
Thank you, Ms. Gold. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-15787 et al.
I second the motion. Before we vote on this, just to note, as Ms. Gold noted, we did receive a notice from Indiana Michigan Power Company noting that it was choosing to limit or to actually no longer accept new customers into its distributed generation program. Current law allows, but notably does not require, utilities to cap participation from residential customers at 1/2% of that utility's total system load. And as noted, it was on that basis that Indiana Michigan Power Company is choosing to no longer accept additional customers into its distributed generation program. Today's filing requires Indiana Michigan to file additional information with the customer to inform customers on what other options are available. The larger question of whether to maintain the current cap maintain the cap at the current level is a consideration for the legislature. But as this is the first time that a utility has chosen to enforce this limitation and not to voluntarily increase the program to allow for additional participation, that suggests to me that this issue has renewed urgency behind it and encouraged the legislature's continued deliberations on this matter. Is there any additional discussion? We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number is U-15787 et al. Is approved. And I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4A3 is case number U-21099, which involves a docket opened on the Commission's own motion for the receipt of capacity demonstration filings required by MCL 460.6W. The order before you invites public comments regarding the Commission staff's proposed capacity demonstration process and requirements document.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21099.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21099 is approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4A4 is case number U-21232, which involves a complaint filed by Phil Forner against Consumers Energy Company. The order before you dismisses the complaint with prejudice.
Thank you, Ms. Gold. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21232.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21232 is approved. And I recognize Ms. Gold.
Items 4A5, excuse me, 4B4 and 4C1 are case numbers U-21421 et al., which involve a proceeding to assign case numbers consistent with the Commission's e-docket filing system. The order before you assigns docket numbers for 2024 and 2024-2025 power supply cost recovery plans, gas cost recovery plans, steam supply cost recovery plans, power supply cost recovery reconciliations, gas supply cost recovery reconciliations, and steam supply cost recovery reconciliations for all rate-regulated electric, gas, and steam utilities.
I move for the approval of the order in case numbers U-21421 et al.
Second the motion. Is there any discussion? We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case numbers U-21421 et al. Is approved. And I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4B1 is case number U-21293, which involves a matter on the Commission's own motion for the development of guidelines and the implementation of an application process for the Low Carbon Energy Infrastructure Enhancement and Development Grant Program under Public Acts 53 and 166 of 2022. Staff member Lynn Beck will describe this order.
Good morning, Commissioners. On March 30th, 2022, Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed into law Public Act 53 of 2022, directing the Michigan Public Service Commission to develop a low-carbon grant program, awarding grants which do the following. 1, are supported by a cost-benefit analysis. 2, facilitate the largest number of end-use customers achieving access to low-carbon energy facilities at the lowest total cost. 3, reduce customer energy cost burdens. And 4, support the reduction of emissions. Public Act 53 appropriated $25 million to the Low Carbon Energy Infrastructure Enhancement and Development Grant Program. On July 20th, 2022, Governor Whitmer signed into law Public Act 166 of 2022, which appropriated an additional $25 million to the grant program. The two appropriations combined to a total of $50 million to be awarded to energy infrastructure enhancement and development projects, which includes planning projects within the state of Michigan. On September 30th, 2022, the Commission issued a request for proposals for the Low Carbon Energy Infrastructure Enhancement and Development Grants, also known as Low Carbon EIED grants, and applications were due on January 6th, 2023. Per legislative requirements, a 45-day public comment period followed. Applicants then had the opportunity to submit revised proposals based on those comments. 24 applications were received, totaling over $183 million in both infrastructure development and planning grants. The Commission expresses its appreciation to the applicants for providing thoughtful proposals. In awarding the grants, the Commission used the criteria outlined in the request for proposals. Based on its review of the applications, the Commission awards the following grants. City of Lansing Solar Project, City of Traverse City Solar and Battery Energy Storage Project, Consumers Energy Swiss Lane Farm Renewable Natural Gas Project, Consumers Energy TDI Farm Renewable Natural Gas Project, DTE Gas Benzie Manistee Wexford County's Natural Gas Expansion Music Buckley Project, Genesee County Drain Commission construction of new digesters at the Ragnon Wastewater Treatment Plant, Hope Network Solar and Battery Storage Project, Kent County Bioenergy Facility at the Kent County Sustainable Business Park, Lansing Board of Water and Light, grid-scale battery energy storage system and ground-mounted solar system. Five Lakes Energy Infrastructure Planning Toolkit. Kalamazoo Nature Center Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Planning. Apologies for that. Midland Cogeneration Venture Carbon Capture and Sequestration Feed Feasibility Study. Public Sector Consultants Planning for Regional Community Solar for Lansing Area Communities. Shelby Charter Township Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Planning. Slipstream Low Carbon Energy Planning for Native Nations. The total award amount for the Low Carbon Energy Infrastructure Enhancement and Development Grants is $49,996,623. Details on each award amount can be found in the order and will be posted to the Low Carbon EIED Grants webpage. Communications with grantees is already underway and with an anticipated grant start date of July 3rd, 2023. Grant awards are contingent upon approval from the State Administrative Board.
Thank you, Ms. Beck. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21293.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I would first like to sincerely thank you, Ms. Beck, and all of the staff who contributed for the huge amount of work that went into issuing these grants today. In addition to Ms. Beck here, we had a host of other staff who contribute, including Julie Baldwin, Joy Wong, Alex Marisi, Paul Proudfoot, Karen Gould, Dave Chesla, Virginia Halloran, Ann Armstrong, Wanda Jones, Jamie Curtis, Mary Wilkins, Dave Walker, Fazan Tiwana, Rika Halivelker, and Ethan Kramer. There was not only a significant amount of work that went into the evaluation of the grant applications that we received, but also work beforehand that went into setting the parameters for the grants, writing the request for proposals, working with the State of Michigan Administrative Board, and clarifying the proposals to get the best solutions for our state. This took a lot of dedication and time, and it wouldn't have happened without all of the efforts put in by our fantastic staff at MPSC. And I also want to thank all of the applicants. The quality of the project that was submitted was very high, and the range was diverse. We're awarding grants today to support new solar installations, battery storage projects, renewable natural gas, and a bioenergy facility. There are also awards to a host of planning grants that ranged from city renewable energy planning, electric vehicle charging infrastructure, community solar planning, tribal low carbon infrastructure enhancement development, and carbon capture and sequestration planning. And importantly, the impact that these projects will have on the state of Michigan is impressive. The estimated impact on reducing greenhouse gas emissions just from these grants is well over 500,000 tons of CO2 per year.
Thank you, Commissioner. I certainly echo all of your comments around the impact, the diversity of the projects, and certainly the thanks to our staff, and particularly to you, Ms. Beck. With that, we'll now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21293 is approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4B2 is case number U-21369, which involves proposed amendments to the rules governing gas safety. The order before you approves the schedule for a public hearing and the receipt of written comments on the proposed amendments to the rule set.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21369.
Second the motion. Is there any discussion? We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21369 is approved. I recognize Ms. Gold.
Item 4B3 is case number U-21396, which involves an amended application filed by Tomorrow Energy Corp. To become a licensed alternative gas supplier. The order before you approves the amended application.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21396.
I second the motion. Is there any discussion? We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21396 is approved. Okay, we've now reached the time reserved for members of the public to address the commission. As mentioned in the notice for today's meeting, we'll take public comments in the following order. First, from individuals attending in person, and then from individuals participating remotely, either through Microsoft Teams or the phone, who have entered the speaker queue. We've got, I think, 10 cards up here, one person with their hand raised online. So we're going to allow the full 3 minutes for public comments. I will have to be precise in enforcing that today. But we want to make sure that we get as many folks as we possibly can between now and 11:30. So I will invite folks to come up, and I'll let people know who's on deck as well. First, we've got Nicole Q.A. Bieber, and what's that? Biber? Biber, sorry. And then Pearl Biber, I got your name right, second. Nicole, good to have you back.
Minigashika, good morning. Nicole Ndishnakas, Wakanakasino, Odawa, Nishnabekwe. So I'm a member of the Little Traverse Bay Band, Odawa, Mishiki Dodam, Turtle Clan. So I'm here because of the recent staff recommendation to your commission that the tunnel project for Line 5 be approved. And we're certainly disappointed to hear this and surprised that, the staff dedicated to looking at things that are in the public interest would do this. And I think it probably might have something to do with a sense of a compromise, this will make it safer, but really it's just another example where we're compromising public health, compromising the safety of the water, and that of all our relations, all the living beings of the earth and the sky and water who depend on the Great Lakes Basin remaining unsullied as much as possible from an onslaught that a break in that pipeline would be. So, the notion of business interests having such an influence all the time, We think about Enbridge and fossil fuel energy interests. Well, their track record is of poisoning the water, of poisoning communities, of dividing everyday people, thinking about our union and labor brothers and sisters who are frankly used and lied to say that here's the jobs. What a threat when we know that we need a complete rehaul of our water infrastructure to get rid of these lead pipes. Those are union jobs. Our public sectors could promise them as union jobs and make that commitment and take and free people from these lies that Enbridge gives, that they're going to give union jobs when they do everything they can to avoid that. So, you know, and they're trying to divide our tribes. We recently had them try to give money to a powwow. $10,000, that's the price tag they put on us. Well, I'll tell you what, this is just a distraction from the fact that they've been told to shut down this pipeline. A tunnel is not going to make it safer. It admits to a slurry of poisons, new poisons that would go into the water, damaging our fish, damaging our wetlands. This is the heart of the great turtle. That's our teaching. It would, drilling would shake it for years. So all we have is our voice. You know, we have the money of these corporations, too often greater influence than the people, but now want to be considered equal to the people, you know, and to be considered as people. When there's an effort to question and undermine our ability to say we're speaking as human beings, that's a danger sign. So, you know, this is Othea Mengises. This is the strawberry moon. But I tell you what, saying we only have our voice, my throat hurts. You go outside this morning, I think we could all smell the consequences of this skewing of the public interest that's swayed by profit margins at the expense of our quality of life, at the expense of our life. So I haven't been able to go out and tend our strawberries. Othea Mengises, strawberry moon. This is so sweet. This is a sacred time of year. This is a very sweet time of year for us, or it's supposed to be. I haven't been able to tend them. I haven't been able to show my children those teachings. So all due respect and my appreciation to the public servants, but this is a wrong decision. This should not be recommended because it's just an extension of, frankly, terrorizing us. We're in terror every second of the day thinking about what would happen when this pipeline breaks. A tunnel is not a solution. It's not a compromise. It's unacceptable. In damages and the risk and the failure to change. We need to change. My throat hurts. Our spirits hurt. Our hearts hurt. Please be the public servants that say enough of this. Miigwech.
Ms. Biber. Moses, are you taking your sister's spot?
Mosey's taking.
Okay, all right.
Oh, hi. Just like what she said, how we weren't be able to share in our teachings with that, sure, because let's say if we went out there, it would be bad for us. There's two things I want to talk about. One, some people with different things say like, oh, serve yourself. Whatever you do it so it serves yourself. Like, use your powers for, man, like a single flame in like this weather could probably make a huge fire. And like, I could smell it from in here. I don't know about you, but I could. And I really do think that, let's say someone built a fire right now, that's how it works. So it'd get bigger and bigger. It's like, just like how you can't put a tunnel around Line 5, that would just make a bigger danger. If it leaked in the first place without the tunnel, it would put oil into the water. If it leaked with the tunnel, it would explode and put oil into the water. Kind of, it's as ridiculous as if you're someone who thinks it's not ridiculous to put a tunnel around that line and think it would make a difference, here's something that might be a good match for you. So, let's say, would it make sense to put a tunnel around a fire? Do you think that would make it stop? Do you think if you put a tunnel around a giant forest fire, it would make it stop growing? No, it wouldn't. Just like how in the tunnel, the gas fumes would escape and then the tunnel would explode. And it would really shake that apart. And this is supposed to be like good weather for us and like for for like 2 days straight, I've either been inside a car or inside my house. So have we. Like, if it's bad for us to go out there, then it's definitely bad for like all the plants stuff too, and the people who break the rules that way. Let's say it's just as inescapable as if, let's say you put a tunnel around it. Oh, it wouldn't be dangerous anymore because the tunnel catches the fumes, and then it makes it to where the tunnel totally makes it safe. No, because let's say it leaks into the tunnel. Even if it kept it safe for 4 seconds, eventually it would explode, and then probably one tiny leak in the tunnel, even without the tube or tunnel or whatever, would probably do like a bunch of oil in just like a few seconds. And we don't even need all this oil. Like, we're not using it. We're not using this oil stuff. Neither of people here are getting any use from it. Or, like I've said before, the places like the airplanes, how much % do you think that oil brings to airplanes? It's way down there. How much do you think it could bring to towns like far away to carry oil? Barely at all. Probably not maybe even not at all would be normal, but if it does, barely at all. Let's say someone lit a single flame and make huge fire. Like she said, we could smell the consequences from here. Like, whoever did that was making the wrong choice, and Enbridge was making the wrong choice by putting the line on in the first place. And if they put the tunnel around it, I think that's just a distraction or an excuse to make it keep running, because it would only make it more dangerous for our people and the fishes and all the animals. Hey, that would also affect. That would also kind of bonus affect it because of, like, all the white fish restaurants and stuff. And I think we should learn not to do this anymore. I'm really tired of it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Pearl Biber?
Hi. So, don't build the tunnel. It's really just not something that is going to make this better. It doesn't make sense, and it's really a no-brainer because it's going to damage like the underwater ecosystems probably just as much, or like almost as much as an oil leak would, because all those years of just like shaking and quaking underground to make this tunnel, like, not only does it cost a lot of time and money, because I know y'all like your money, but like that's bad for the underwater things too. And after this thing is built, like, is this really going to have like a permanent solution? No, that permanent solution is to shut it down. This is just a no-brainer. If you build a tunnel to supposedly catch this oil and have there not be a leak, like, first of all, the tunnel's has just as much chance of leaking as the line does, and second, there's a good chance that if that tunnel leaks and if that line leaks, then the oil's just going to explode. So shut it down. Don't build the tunnel. And it's just not like, what about like giving this money to the Powells? Like, we're not going to take that. It's stupid, because like we don't stand for those things that are like damaging like living beings that are really important to us. It's insulting, really, that to think that we would benefit or whatever from something like that. So no, Enbridge, just don't even try. We're not taking that. Thank you.
Up next, I have Dawn Fleming and then Maria Riolo. Fleming?
Good morning. I have two major comments that I would like to make right now. And like the three previous people who commented, I am really shocked that there was a recommendation to approve the project in the Straits. The pipeline can never take precedence over our Great Lakes. To me, I can't even imagine how anyone from Michigan could even consider the risk, any risk of any kind of oil spill in our Great Lakes. Our Great Lakes are so valuable. When we look at the value of the Great Lakes and the risk, we shouldn't be taking any risks with our Great Lakes. Now, you can look at all of the different factors. Yes, there's commerce in the Great Lakes, and they're valuable because of the commerce. But that is not the only value they have. There's tourism in the Great Lakes, and the tourism is valuable economically and a very important part of our state. But that is not the only value of the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes are the largest source of fresh water in the world. The water is our most valuable resource in the world. And if you think it's valuable now, just wait. Wait 20 years, wait 50 years, wait until they want to take up the water from the Great Lakes out to California and to the deserts in the West. We must protect the water in our Great Lakes. Having an oil spill there is not an option. No matter how 1/100th of a million% chance or whatever, no risk should be taken against our Great Lakes at all. If there's any risk at all of any kind of an oil spill, it's our obligation to say no. We aren't going to take a risk with the Great Lakes. The natural resources, the Great Lakes literally defines Michigan. Our state is defined by the Great Lakes. Look at a map. That's what defines our state. And those lakes belong to all citizens. They don't just belong to the businesses. They don't just belong to the oil industry. They don't just belong to the people in the UP who think that they're dependent on gas and oil that is, going through the pipelines. We have to stop investing in natural gas, in fossil fuels, in petroleum, in all of these things. We have to see the value of the Great Lakes for everything that they are and try to balance that against whatever petty commerce you're going to get from that pipeline. As they said, it's a no-brainer. I don't even see a scale on that. So the second thing that ties in with this is that it's time for us to depart from fossil fuels. And it's going to happen pretty fast. We are going to have to stop using natural gas. We're going to have to stop using gasoline. We're going to have to stop using all of these things, as has come to our attention recently with the fires that are in Canada that have created all of the smoke in the eastern United States. The time is now. We have to stop investing in this. Why should we allow a pipeline to be built when it's going to be going out? Probably within 25 years, we aren't going to even be using it. And why at this late hour would we want to take a risk with our precious Great Lakes? It's not the time to approve that. It's a time to get away from that. And I would encourage you to be forward-minded, look to the future, protect it for future generations, protect it for the wildlife, protect it for all citizens of Michigan and really of the United States. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria Riolo and then Russ Fisher.
Yes, I'd like to agree with the previous commenters and also add that one of the problems that I see with the Line 5 tunnel project is that Enbridge has not been responsible with maintenance on Line 5 in the past, right? That's the entire reason they lost their easement 2.5 years ago. And their response to losing their easement and their legal right to continue operating was to continue operating and ignore the law, right? They are trespassing. Similarly, in Wisconsin on the Bad River Band's land, they, in like I think last November, received a court ruling from a federal judge that they've been trespassing for the past 10 years because they lost their easement there in 2013 and have continued operating. In what recourse do we in Michigan have to force them to continue maintenance if we were to allow them to build this pipeline, right? There's no leverage we have on them. We're not their primary customer base, and they clearly don't care about our laws. So it seems extremely ridiculously risky to allow them to continue operations when this has been the behavior they've shown in the past and they have no incentive to change.
Thank you, Ms. Riolo. Russ Fisher and then Anna Stuntz.
I'm here today to voice my opposition to the proposed Enbridge Line 5 tunnel project. As has been stated, I think we have a very clear choice, and I want to also say that I appreciate the time and dedication that you're putting into this process, in particular examining the climate impacts. But I think there's a very clear choice. I think we can do one of two things. We can listen to our indigenous communities and respect them. We can protect the Great Lakes. And we can also listen to the number of experts that have warned of the drastic risks posed by this tunnel project. Or we can listen to a Canadian corporation that has an abysmal environmental track record that will stop at nothing to expand their profits at the risk of our Great Lakes. And I think that choice is very clear, and I think that you will make the right choice given all of the information at your disposal. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Anna Stuntz, and then Betsy Ann Moskowitz. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Anna Stuntz. I'm an 8th grade student from Huntington Woods, Michigan, and I disagree with Enbridge's plan to build a Line 5 tunnel. I have two things. So, number one, this is proven to be a completely unsafe project. According to an article from Oil and Water Don't Mix that was worked on by Brian O'Mara, a geologist and consultant on tunnel projects, quote, "It is impossible to sum up all the concerns, inconsistencies, deficiencies, and omissions in a few sound bites of the Enbridge Tunnel project. But I can say that what has been submitted is in no way adequate for Eagle to complete a review, let alone improve. Line 5's track record is completely abysmal, so how are we sure that this is not another one of those projects that will have catastrophic consequences? Some of Enbridge's other safe pipelines have leaked before. In the largest inland oil spills in history, Line 6B, an Enbridge pipeline, leaked into Kalamazoo River near the town of Marshall in Michigan in 2010 because of a pipeline failure. 2 weeks before, they testified in front of Congress that that pipeline was completely safe. It could never leak. This leak, known as the Marshall oil spill, was one of the largest inland oil spills in history, and their state-of-the-art 24/7 leak detective systems failed to detect it. A utility worker from an unaffiliated company had to call it in. And according to Beth Wallace, National Wildlife Federation pipeline safety specialist and researcher, only one Line 5 spill she could find was discovered by Enbridge's leak detective systems, which, to put that into perspective, Line 5 has leaked 29 times since its construction in 1953, spilling 1.1 million gallons into UP and LP wetlands and habitats. We can't trust them with our waters. And during the pipeline tunnel's 10-year period of construction, how are we sure that it's not going to leak? It's going to completely devastate the Lake Huron especially, and Lake Michigan, and Straits of Mackinac ecosystems and people. It would cause $485 million damages to lakefront property, affect over 50 types of endangered species, This is according to simulations that have been run by University of Michigan hydrologist David Schwab and risk assessments that have been done by Dr. Robert Rickardson from Michigan State University. It would completely devastate lakefront tourism, which is a key element of Michigan's economy. Oil and gas would spread throughout 60% of Lake Huron, which is my favorite place on the planet. 720 plus miles of lakeshore would be contaminated and affected. And some of those aren't even worst case scenario. The drinking water of tens of thousands of homes and businesses would be contaminated, according to these studies. And the pipeline would essentially be rendered obsolete by 2060 at the latest, because we are going to run out of natural gas by 2060. Enbridge markets natural gas on their website as some sort of form of clean, renewable energy. It is clearly not. It may have comparatively less greenhouse gas emissions when it's compared to other types of fossil fuels, but that won't matter when our planet is essentially burned. Plus, the project will cost over $1.2 billion. Why are we spending that much money on something that will be obsolete in the not-so-distant future? So the second thing I wanted to say was I have a poem about climate in action that I'd like to read. It isn't specifically about Enbridge, but I did have Line 5 and their pipelines in mind when I wrote it. There will not be a future if we do nothing but hope on the inadequacy of our own inaction and such a delayed reaction when a temperature rise of a fractional degree in every corner of the world means some level of catastrophe. To bet on pure theoretical volition in hopes that it somehow lowers our emissions, our burning, breathing addiction to oil, to gas, to CO2. It's storming our ecosystems, it'll storm us too. The data is consistently insistent. Heat's correlation to carbon climbing higher. We can either sleep through the smoke in science or curb the source of the fire, but there is not an option beyond hope. No, they're too drastic. We'll just drown in our pollution, our sewage, and our plastic, fantastically, miraculously saved by a new, desperate generation and a planet raised. And an ill-conceived climate plans far off creation and some distant iteration of greenwash technology, too slow to save humanity, ecology, biology, and time is running out. Because now has come a time where hope is not enough. But not all hope is lost either. We still have time that we can make the most of. We still have a planet. We'll protect it in a way that we're proud of because we love Earth and each other. And I do have faith in myself and in all of you, but faith alone isn't enough to tide us through, to save us from certain doom without translating that faith into actionable change. This pipeline needs to be shut down. The science and experts are in agreement, and those studies are noticeably absent on Enbridge's claims. Needs to be removed from the Great Lakes.
Thank you, Anna.
For the opportunity.
Betsy Ann Moskowitz, and then Bill Latka.
My name is Betsy Ann Goulette Moskowitz. I've been a respiratory therapist for several years, and our impetus is to look towards what is promoting health. This pipeline does not promote health. I have a poster for a synopsis of things that this pipeline and others contribute to our world. And the pipeline inspection systems are not fail-proof. And there's different levels of technology, there's different levels of compliance, and that's a big issue. And I feel that this is a this pipeline is 7 decades old. The pipeline that blew in the Kalamazoo River was 40 years old. This is, as Warren Zevon saying, trouble waiting to happen. And I want to say that I appreciate the Pleistocene epoch. I'm the daughter of a Michigan State University graduate in geology. My father, the Great Pleistocene epoch carved our Great Lakes from ancient riverbeds. It was a work of ice. It was magnificent, and we should appreciate all the time that took to give us this great gift. And I speak for turtles all over. It's my turtle bag, and other living beings when I say, Enbridge, Line 5, get off our backs.
Thank you, Ms. Moskowitz. Bill Latka, and then Sean McBrady.
Hi, my name is Bill Latka. I'm from Traverse City. I'm representing myself today, and I'm representing the millions of Michiganders who, whether they know it or not, are looking for heroes to save them. Commissioners of the Michigan Public Service Commission, you are being asked to do something that's insane. Decades ago, scientists told us we have to stop burning fossil fuels or they would raise the temperature of the earth and cause floods, rising sea levels, mega droughts, including uncontrollable wildfires. Your staff is recommending that you approve this oil tunnel because they're following the rules. Your staff is following laws written to enable unlimited growth, which are in part endorsed or written by fossil fuel companies. Laws written when the atmosphere was believed to be an open, unlimited sewer for carbon pollution. Enbridge is asking you to approve this oil tunnel. It's following its mandate to maximize profits for its shareholders by moving as much fossil fuel as possible. When oil is successfully moved down its pipes, it's burned and raises the temperature of the atmosphere. Now you have a choice of who to listen to. Will you listen to the fossil fuel company that will do or say anything, even lie, to continue to do what scientists tell us could end humanity? Will you listen to the public servants who are mandated to follow the rules and laws that don't take into account the science of climate change? Or will you listen to the scientists and the millions of us who are looking for heroes? We need heroes who have the ability to make the right choice for humanity. Albert Einstein famously once said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. Step outside and take a breath of that air, or look at the news about the current wildfires in Canada and Michigan. It's June. Consider what we've got here, or consider how we've got here. We did the same thing over and over. We follow the rules written for unlimited growth on a finite planet. But now we know better. I urge you to make the same choice. Deny the permit for the Enbridge fossil fuel infrastructure through the heart of the Great Lakes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Latka. Sean McBrady, sorry, I struggle every single time.
That's okay.
And
Thank
then
you.
Carol Burns after you.
Thank you, Chair Scripps and Commissioner Paratic for allowing time to comment today. I'm also here to speak about the Line 5 tunnel. I'm sure you're shocked. But a couple things I wanted to mention that, I don't think were properly considered in the staff recommendation. And I believe a couple things that were in the record before you, or at least referenced in the record before you, that go to the need of the project that I wanted to talk about. So first, the comments that US EPA submitted to the Army Corps of Engineers in their scoping process for the EIS, which I'm going to quote from this, the draft purpose and need statement limits the range of risk elimination options by focusing only on connecting Enbridge's existing North Straits facility and Mackinac City pump station. Enbridge filed a 2020 depreciation report with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission regarding its Lakehead pipeline system. That report noted that the remaining lives of all asset groups within the Lakehead pipeline system, which includes Line 5, reflect a truncation date of December 31st, 2040, based on an economic life review of the Lakehead system. So Enbridge is essentially saying that Line 5 and the rest of the Lakehead system is going to be valueless by 2040 due to changing market dynamics, changing climate policy, and several other things that they state. We know that with the Army Corps timeline being a EIS completion in 2026, we'd be talking about the first chance of this tunnel being operational is 2030, and it then only lasting for 10 years. Further, in Bad River Band of Lake Superior Chippewa versus Enbridge, in December, Enbridge experts testified in court. And what they testified was far different than what we see in the Enbridge advertisements flooding markets across Michigan. Enbridge's own experts, when they were under penalty of perjury, admitted that the biggest impact they could see from an immediate shutdown of Line 5 was an increase in gas prices of up to half a cent a gallon regionally, and also small increases in Canada. The reason for that is that other transport options, including Line 78, are readily available and can carry the product currently being carried on Line 5. We know that providers in the Upper Peninsula for propane have started moving away from using propane that comes off of Line 5. We know from the UP energy study that the governor put together that other options are in fact readily available in the Upper Peninsula. There's probably going to be more coming soon, as there have been over the last couple of years. So I think that goes to really the heart of the need of this project, and that there is no need for a Line 5 oil tunnel underneath the Great Lakes. And where other feasible and prudent options exist, like the use of alternative infrastructure, the Commission should not approve building a new oil tunnel underneath the Great Lakes. The other piece I just wanted to speak to briefly is I feel like the Commission in some ways is being offered a false choice between an oil tunnel and the existing pipeline at the bottom of the Great Lakes. And obviously the Commission has no role in deciding the future of the existing twin pipelines, which are, again, operating without an easement in Michigan, actively trespassing on Bad River territory in Wisconsin. And although the Commission doesn't have a role there, there are ongoing court cases in both Wisconsin and in federal court originating here in Michigan that could result in the shutdown of that pipeline. There are ongoing discussions between the United States and Canada, and discussions at the federal level with the Biden administration that could result in that pipeline shutting down. So the alternative before you is really to determine whether or not to build an oil tunnel. The future of the pipeline is in other people's hands. So I don't think that that dichotomy of keeping the existing pipeline versus building the tunnel is really a reality for the Commission to consider. Thank you again very much for your time, and also just wanted to thank especially the young people who came out here today to make their voices heard. The young people, as you all know, are going to be the ones who feel the climate crisis even more than we do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. McSturdy. Okay, we have four more commenters, and I think we're going to have to cap it at that. So Carol Burns, and then Stephen Kraft, and then we've got two online as well. Carol Burns. Oh, excellent.
Well, I'll be short. I don't know how sweet it'll be, but I'll be short. And thank you. I appreciate all the work that everybody has done, both for and against this pipeline. There's been a great deal of work and time and human energy put into the whole project. There has been so much complexity, so much talk, so many scientific reports, which I would be the last person to denigrate. However, it seems to me that there's a really basic fundamental issue in all this, and that is do we really care so little about our precious lakes that we're willing to put them at risk for the sake of an oil pipeline? That's absurdity, it's madness, it's lunacy. We should be intensely, intensely grateful for our natural environment, which after all does support our life, and we should be intensely grateful as Michiganders for living among the Great Lakes. We should be awestruck by them. We should be grateful for them. We should take care of them. And it is absurdity, lunacy to do otherwise. Please shut down that pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burns. Stephen Kraft. And then we'll go to the folks online, and I think the first person up has the last four of 3083, so you'll be next after Mr. Kraft. Mr. Kraft?
Hi, thank you for taking public comment and for your work on Line 5. It seems like this has been a reoccurring story, that there's hearings about Line 5, public hearings. I think this is probably the third one that I've been able to participate in. And here we are again talking about many of the same issues. I'd like to build on some of the themes that Ms. Burns just presented. It seems at base we're dealing with a problem of trust and risk with respect to Enbridge. They seem to be untrustworthy given their past track record with respect to the maintenance of Line 5, given what has occurred in the past, and their loss of the easement as a consequence of that behavior. And yet we're willing to consider a new alternative for them again to construct a tunnel to carry Line 5. There seems to be an inherent risk associated with their behavior. There hasn't been a major blowout of the line spewing oil. But if that happens, it's going to have a major economic consequence throughout the Great Lakes, along the shores of Lake Michigan and Lake Huron. And when that happens, it impacts the economic welfare of all those people who are engaged in resort activity, fishing activity, and has a major spiraling impact on local economies, which doesn't remain a temporary impact, but it has a significant impact that continues over time as those businesses are impacted and people are thrown out of work. And that will have a major impact on the Michigan economy, to say nothing on the economies of other areas impacted by those oil spills. As we know from what has happened on the East Coast and on the West Coast and on the Gulf Coast, oil spills have a very long tail in terms of their environmental consequences. That brings me to my last point. Lake Michigan and Lake Huron are essentially public commons to be protected by prudent actions. And it is in your hands to protect that public commons. You are the ones who have to assure that prudent actions are taken to maintain the viability of that public commons. If they are destroyed and endangered, the responsibility ends up in your lap for that having happened. So you are major players in this drama with respect to Line 5. It's not something to take lightly, because these are, as somebody else has already pointed out, major significant resources when it comes to to waters within the United States. And your decisions will have, again, a very long tail in terms of their consequences going off into the future. You'll be tied to whatever happens with Enbridge in Line 5. So I suggest that you consider very, very closely the kinds of decisions that you'll be taking with respect to this. Because after all, they have been found to be bad actors, and they have a major question with respect to their risk profile in terms of their past behavior. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Kraft. So we're going to go to the virtual options, and the person whose phone number ends in 3083, you can go next. You may have to press *6 to unmute yourself. Or if you're joining through the Teams option, I think you're able to unmute yourself. We're going to try this again. If your number ends in 3083 and you're participating online, we'd like to hear from you. It looks like you were able to lower your hand, so I'm not sure if that's that you don't want to speak or... Okay. We'll close public comment here at this point. Again, I just want to remind folks that in addition to this, that there is the option to provide public comment in writing through the case docket process, and then you can also send comments to the commissioners at mpsc_commissioners@michigan.gov. So particularly, but not exclusively, for the person whose number ends in 3083, I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to make your voice heard. A few announcements before we close. I think folks know that June is Pride Month. It's certainly something that we celebrate here at the Commission, and are grateful for the many contributions of our LGBTQ+ employees, and certainly the folks from those communities that we also serve as Michiganders. And so a lot to celebrate this June, while also acknowledging more work to do in celebrating Pride Month. June is also the National Caribbean American Heritage Month, and so want to acknowledge that as well. And then finally, in terms of my announcements, just to flag that earlier this week we issued our summer energy outlook, found slightly lower gasoline prices, slightly higher electricity prices, but lower electricity demand. So overall, we believe that Michiganders should pay less in energy this summer when compared to next summer. But there's a lot in the report on electricity, including demand and some additional projections, natural gas, gasoline, and distillate fuels like diesel. Commissioner Peretick, do you have any other announcements? Okay, well then our next commission meeting is scheduled for Thursday, June 22, 2023 at 1 p.m., going back to our regular time on Thursday afternoons for the next meeting on June 22nd. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn today's commission meeting.
We'll now have, I second the motion. Now it's properly in front of us. We'll now have a vote on the motion to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for being here.